Hey, so we're at 154, episode 154, which is also 11 times 14 for people who like multiplication. Um, we're at nearly 69,000 confirmed coronavirus deaths, and one of the statisticians that I respect the most, Chris Long, who does all sorts of stats for like Major League Sports, says we're going to blow through 200,000 U.S. coronavirus casualties eventually. It looks like we will get to almost 110,000 conservatively by the end of May, which puts it on a par with all the Americans killed in World War I. It is going to be shortly, within 10, 15 days, the second most deadly pandemic in U.S. history and the most preventable pandemic. Also, some people, including Lance, have said that it's just like a bad year for flu, which made me wonder, well, how many fucking people have died from flu this season? And it's been a good year for flu deaths. A bad year was 2 years ago when about 60,000 people died. This year, because we're staying in, we're washing our hands, we're not shaking hands, only 24,000 people have died from the flu. But if you add the 24,000 to the 69,000, you get 93,000 deaths so far this year from respiratory disease, which is the worst year for that since 1969. And we're racking up another 2,000 or so every day. So, we could hit that 200,000 mark if the numbers don't drop significantly, by sometime in July. Though I think they'll drop some. Summer may have some effect, though. If you look at the list of worst hit countries, now 6 of the top 20 worst hit countries are tropical countries, where you'd think that higher temperatures might have something, slowing down. But so we don't know. But the numbers are not causes for joy. Lance.
Well, when you said to look at the hot countries, I immediately went to the Worldometer,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily the most trustworthy thing, but I'm going to the countries now because I want to see that. So I'm looking at hard-hit countries, and I'm not seeing what you're seeing. I mean, Saudi
Look at
Arabia.
I forget what number 9 and number 10 are, but they're warmish countries. And down in the top 20, you got Mexico, you got Peru. I think you might have Ecuador. You got Iran.
Well, no. I mean, Iran's not that hot.
Well, what's the country right above Iran? Iran is number 10. I don't have it in front of me. Brazil's a nice tropical country. Those guys don't have asses in their swimsuits. They just walk around with their butts out all the time.
Okay, well, they have 7,000 people in a country that has 150 million people.
Yeah, so but they're moving up to the charts.
Yeah, but their deaths per million is 33.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like they're moving up the charts. They're not moving down the charts, and you'd expect, Saudi Arabia, I think, is in the top 25. I mean, those guys.
Saudi Arabia has a total of 184 deaths.
Yeah, but look at cases, because that list is works off of total number of confirmed cases.
Rick, it's 5 deaths per million. It's 776 cases per million. Active cases, 22,000. 184 deaths in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, but I mean, it's in the out of the 210. I know they've got a lot of little dinky fucking places on that list, like Nevis and St. Kitts or whatever. But still, it's not like warm weather countries are absent from the top 20, top 25. Six of them are in the top
Rick,
20.
Rick, you're completely insane. All the warm weather countries have tiny, minuscule amounts of death. I mean, I look at it yourself. Go to
I
coronavirus world
can't because
meter.
in my current setup, I'd have to walk upstairs and look at a second computer screen. But
Okay,
I'm just
well,
saying that
I assure you that none of the really hot countries in the world have any particular amount of death from coronavirus. It's
not death. No,
almost
look at cases, which is the first column.
Rick.
Conf-
It's practically nothing. I mean, I'm sorry, but my theory holds true that the very hot countries have very little coronavirus. I mean, I can't see it. We can break and you can go upstairs and try to
well,
explain this to
but
me,
right
but
before we met, I
you're
looked at the
delusional.
top. I looked at the top 10 countries, and then I
All
looked at
right,
the top
all
20
right,
countries.
all right. I'll read them to you. The top
No, you
20
don't have to,
countries.
because I know number 9 is Brazil. Number 10, you say Iran isn't particularly warm, so I'll give you all right. So that gives you 5. That knocks one out. But then you got, working like Mexico is a pretty warm
Rick,
country. No,
Rick,
and when you look at hold on, when you look at the daily number of new cases in Mexico, Mexico is a little bit in trouble. Now, I mean, you can look every day. Now you can't because it's nighttime and the numbers don't start coming in for another 6, 8, 10 hours. Um, but you look at the countries that are in trouble because they're racking up large numbers of new cases every day. Mexico's one of those countries. Now, Russia's not a warm weather country, but you'd expect Russia to have a bullet, to be moving upward because Russia is shitty at stuff. Um, and so, yeah, Russia is moving up because they probably are not good at controlling it. But
Rick,
I'm saying that the warm weather countries are not necessarily exempt from cases.
are,
Similarly,
are you gonna wait? Are
the
you gonna
warm weather states are not necessarily exempt from cases. Louisiana, Florida, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri, they've got different rates, but they have people getting sick. I mean, Louisiana had a few weeks ago, major outbreak in New Orleans. Um, and so they are fairly high on the list of states with cases. Lately, they've been doing better, but I'm saying it's still pretty early. Plus, it's fucking April in the northern hemisphere. That means no, I'm sorry, it's fucking May. Um, oh, I turned 60 yesterday, so I went from the age cohort that has a 1.3% chance of dying if they get it to the age cohort that has a 3.6% chance of dying if they get it. Of course, a cohort is everybody. So, like, my overall risk is probably lower because I don't have that many serious comorbidities. But
uh,
anyway, what I'm saying is, uh, and what I've said a lot is it's pretty early. We have to wait and see. The current evidence is not conclusive that warm weather um, kicks this thing's ass. Um,
are you done speaking?
yep.
All right. Well, Rick, none of what you said was true.
Nothing
If
about
Rick,
Louisiana, like the big outbreak in New Orleans. That didn't happen.
uh, Rick, you said you were going to stop talking, but they have a total deaths in the state of Louisiana of 2,012, according to the Worldometer.
Yeah, why are you using
2000,
deaths instead of cases?
because because people don't die from this as often as you imagine. You can
I don't know. We
there.
got 70,000 dead plus the,
You
well,
said you were going to stop talking for a bit.
all right,
All
go
right.
ahead.
All right. So here's the deal. Um, I first of all, Nothing in what Rick just said about countries, warm countries beating this up was true. I'm going to read the list of the top 20 countries. USA, Spain, Italy, UK, France, Germany, Russia, Turkey, Brazil, Iran, China, Canada, Belgium, and Peru. And it goes down. India is hot, but in India they only have 1,400 deaths. All the ones at the bottom are in Africa, the Middle East, and Africa, and south of the equator. I mean, for example, in South Africa, there are 131 people dead. In Malaysia, 105. In
About
South Africa,
Indonesia?
I'll look that up just to be fair. Let me
I think
see.
they're top 25, top 30.
Yeah, Indonesia, by the way, has about, I don't know, 300 or 400 million people. So let's see what they've got. Just neither of us know, so let's look it up. I'm not even seeing it on the list. Hang on, hang on. Thailand has 54 people dead. Um, uh, Guinea has 7 people.
Oh, Guinea's not.
Ivory Coast, 17. Djibouti, 2. Tunisia, 42. Somalia has 32 deaths. I'm literally not finding Indonesia unless it was way up at the top.
No, it's
Uh,
Indonesia, I said, is somewhere between 20th and 30th, somewhere around 25th.
all right. Well, look, I mean, the Congo has 9 deaths. Liberia has 18. Myanmar
Well,
has 6. Ethiopia has 3.
all right. So,
All I'll go up and I'll try and find Indonesia. Oh, no, but I'm sorry. Hang on, hang on. But anyway, you're kind of derailing me. My point is, I don't need to. Oh, Indonesia, a whopping of 300 million people. They have 845 people.
dead is what you're saying.
Yeah, and they have that's 3 deaths per million. So it's just not true. Another thing that I,
Well, all right. So what we say that
yeah,
what you're saying that summer's going to wipe it out, we
no,
should
no, wait a minute.
not wipe it
Why
out, but
don't,
knock it down.
why don't you
So,
let me say what I'm going to say every time I
all
try
right.
to talk? I don't know what happened. Did you take speed or something? Let me get in a point. So look,
Okay.
this comports with something that I read this week. Now, there was a study, and I can look it up. I tried to keep it on my computer, but this was a medical study. It was done by legitimate scientists. It wasn't, at a university. I tried to keep it on my computer. I don't know where it is. But what they found is that 100% of the people that had died had had severe deficiencies of vitamin D. And the ones that had all come through and survived had lots and lots of vitamin D in their system, which makes sense because you get vitamin D from the sun. So that's the first thing. The second,
Can I ask who did the study?
here's the thing. I kept it as long as I could. It was like at the beginning of the week. Um, it hadn't yet, it had not yet been peer reviewed, but it was a legit, it was done by a scientific organization. It was in the same format with graphs and abstracts, just, the way you would have liked it. And they just said, look, a lot of, all they could say was, their only conclusion was people should take a lot of vitamin D. It appears to, there's probably a connection that they were very
Because
cautious. But
Carol,
wait, well, wait,
no, hold
I'm not.
on, because this is weird. Because in my house, I've been giving Carol vitamin D every day for years, and now all of a sudden Carol doesn't want vitamin D because some doctor or somebody, who knows, told her that vitamin D is bad for this shit. So now I have to go look it up because I'm hearing two different fucking things.
Well, the doctor's wrong. This was all over the internet. I mean, I'll look for it after the show. There's one other thing, and this is the strangest thing. This one, even I'm telling you this, and I'm having a hard time with it. Because, I mean, I know it's going to be very bizarre to you, but it's even strange to me. If you go to the CDC, provisional, this is May 1st, provisional death counts for coronavirus. CDC.
Oh, they had a glitch where they listed 37,000 for half a second?
Yeah, it's not a glitch. It's not a glitch. I found it 3 times this week. If it's a glitch, they would have taken it down.
No, but they know the actual numbers of the last CDC number I saw was 66,000 and something.
Yeah, I know that. But here's the deal. If you go to coronavirus, if you go into it and you look up provisional death counts for coronavirus, which is in the same thing, the very same thing. It has several different pages. The first page says 67,000 deaths, but then there's another page you can click on called provisional deaths, and in that part, they divide it into pure deaths from Wuhan. They call it COVID, so I'll call it COVID. Deaths from all causes, all the way to deaths with pneumonia, influenza, or COVID. So in other words, they've broken down all the categories of deaths. And it turns out there were only 37,000 deaths from pure COVID. All the other deaths that lead to that huge number, 70,000, those were all people that died with something else. So in other words, they had a lot of people are having heart attacks and strokes brought on by COVID. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. But it turns out that they've been blending the flu deaths. You started off your spiel by saying that it's been a good year for flu. It turns out no. What they've been doing is they've been blending in the flu deaths with the COVID deaths. So a lot of the deaths in that 70,000 were people that had flu. And the other thing.
Yeah. So do you have that table in front of you?
I do. I can email it to you if you want.
Well, I mean, how many had like my late brother-in-law was homeless, and we saw his death certificate. He had 6 causes of death.
Uh-huh.
When you end up in as dire a situation as he was in, there's a lot of stuff that's going on at the end. There's neurological collapse, circulatory collapse.
Sure.
So like, how many people on that list had combined flu plus COVID?
There's actually a number, 16,000. Or no, that's pneumonia with COVID. Now they have a number where people died with pneumonia, influenza, or COVID. They're not even sure, and that's 90. That's 90,000.
Okay, so that's all respiratory. That's all respiratory diseases combined. That's
right,
close. That's close to that 93,000 number I was talking about. So
okay.
I don't. Yeah. So that all makes kind of sense.
Hey, I'm talking. So what I'm saying is that what they have found is that most people, like 99% of the people that get this, the morbidity rate for people under 75 is about, if you get COVID, it's about 10,000 to 1 that you're going to die. All the people, the vast, vast majority of people that are dying are over 75. Don't interrupt me. And the problem is that when they record these deaths, some of these people that are dead, they have asymptomatic COVID in them. They are among that 5 or 6,000 that don't even have any symptoms. They just register an antibody for COVID. So what I'm saying is nobody knows what these total deaths are. And pure COVID deaths, just COVID, that's all you've got, is 37,000. And of that 37,000, the vast majority are over 75.
Okay. So
Now, wait a minute. Wait.
Hold on, because I just turned. Wait. Yesterday, I just turned 60. I just turned 60, and you're telling me that after I only have 15 more years till Logan's Run happens, and I just have to go fucking out on an iceberg and accept whatever viruses drift my fucking way to kill me. I saw a study. I saw a.
No, wait, I'm not finished.
All right, go ahead.
I did all that. I went through all that. I said actual numbers, CDC, COVID alone, 37,000, vast majority over 75 years old, and you agreed with me, which was the trap I set for you. Now I need to spring the trap.
Okay, spring away.
The deal is that if you're over 75, stay home, Rick. Stay home and wait for a vaccine if you wish, and the rest of the United States can go back to living our lives.
Well, hold on. Let me agree with you. Where that's eventually one dimension of what's going to happen, I believe. So for right now, just put a fucking pin in that and say that I provisionally agree with you with some caveats, which I'll get to when I get to talk again.
Talk. Go ahead, talk.
Okay, so I celebrated my 60th birthday by leaving the house. At 2:30 a.m., some asshole teenagers who live in my neighborhood go bam, bam, bam on the door. 2:30 fucking a.m., which scares the shit out of you, right?
Yeah.
They used to do this like a year ago. They were doing it for a while. And then they did it again at 2:40 a.m. I happened to be close to the door, and I happened to be dressed, and I fucking took off after them. And I chased them for a block. And I'm like, well, I can't, what can I do if I catch them? Nothing. A, I don't want to catch them because social distancing, and B, when an adult catches a shitty teen, the adult's always the one who gets arrested because it's a fucking child that you've tackled. A guy is going to go to prison probably for life because this fucking guy, who I think probably originally came from a country where probably all the teenagers are already working in factories, a car full of, this happened in LA like right before the virus came, a car full of 6 teens ding dong ditched him. He jumped in his car, he took off after him, he bumped him, he pushed their car off the road and into a tree, and 3 of the teens died. So that's a bad adult, that's a monster. So, there's no point in catching a shitty teen, except maybe to get them to show you ID so you can go to their parents. But, there's so many ways it can go wrong. Anyway, I quit chasing them, but then I'm like, well, fuck, I didn't have a mask. I'm running through their fucking droplet trails. But anyway, that's how I celebrated my fucking birthday, with shit teens.
Well, I'd have to say, Rick, You know what that tells me about you, Rick?
Yeah,
That tells me that you are spry.
thanks. Oh, I had iron put back in my blood, so I don't get winded anymore. Last
Really?
year when I was chasing down shitty teams, I got winded, but now I can go, but I shouldn't go because
How did you get
that
the
way.
iron?
What?
How did you get iron in your blood?
I went to a fucking chemo place and I lay on a very comfy seat, bed, couch deal, and they just infused it into me.
Is it is okay? Is this some sort of new wave thing that you're trying?
No, the deal is that they were going to operate to fix my butthole and also to take out that tumor. And they want me to have decent blood. My blood was shitty because I was bleeding out my wrecked butthole. So they needed to top me off with iron so I'd have like really good blood. And
Okay.
now I
How's
do because I don't bleed out of my butt as much. But anyway, I saw a study that
yes.
said that the average COVID death in America had actuarially the expected lifespan that was cut short is another 10 years. That is, on average, if you're dying of COVID in America, you could have lived another 10 years on average. Because like my mother-in-law is in a senior living community, and I go there, and it's fucking terrifying because the quality of life there varies fucking widely. Um, there's almost nobody that I'd want to bang out of these ladies in their 80s. I mean,
It's very
there was one who was I I was like, yeah, okay. Um, and then there's a big range of besides bangability, there's a big range of with itness. You know, some people are very fucking with it. There's one guy they call him the mayor of the place, and he's he's got all his faculties, and he's probably banging somebody. Um, but then on the other fucking end is it's. But anyway, when the average 10 what you're cutting off is the last 10 years of life, maybe the last 2 years of those 10 years would have been shit, but probably the first 2, 3, 5, 6 years of that 10 years you've got still have people who are fucking with it. You got people who are, somebody who's like, I know Jane Fonda, you hate her politically, but she's still bangable and she's like 80. Raquel Welch, 80, bangable, and also with it. I mean, so, and it's not just bangability, but like, do you have a quality of life? And yeah, it's not. COVID is not just chopping off. There's a science fiction story I read like 40 years ago about a guy who wants to live forever. He makes a deal with the devil or some shit, and he makes the deal, and then he dies hideously and like in rapid succession, like 8 times in a row. And he's like, "What the fuck is this? I keep dying and dying horribly, horribly." And the devil's like, "Oh yeah, we're just using the scrap ends. We just spliced them all together." Um, it's not all just scrap ends with these fucking people dying. These people have anyway. Go ahead.
I don't understand this part of
The
the
guy, the
story.
guy in this, think every fucking science fiction short story that ended up being put in an anthology in the '60s, where I would have found it as a school child.
No, hang on. You
Read
got to
like a
stay on point. You got to
All right,
stay on point.
everything read like a Twilight Zone episode. So imagine a guy makes a deal with the devil, probably played by Vincent Price, and then thinks he got a good deal because he's going to live forever, and all of a sudden, flash to he's in a swamp and he's being eaten by alligators.
I
Flash and
understand, but you're saying he keeps getting brought back to life after dying.
Right, but like he gets to live forever, but his living forever consists of a series of horrible last 10 minutes of people's lives because the
Wow.
devil's an asshole. But
Yeah.
I'm saying that the people dying from corona aren't just they're the lives that they're missing because they're dead aren't just those shitty scrap ends. They're actual decent numbers of years of life that you would want to live.
Right. Did you get the email that I sent to you or director? Did you get the email? I don't know if the director's awake. Do you see it? What is it? Did you see the attachment? It's just one picture. You got to look at it. All right, well, anyway, I'm assuming people will just take my word for it. But I sent a picture to the director. Do you see that? Yeah, I don't know. You can. Okay. I don't know how you. No, that was in LA City Hall. That's where I spent May Day. May Day, I was at Los Angeles City Hall on the steps, and I was facing off an army of police
Oh,
for
you
your
went to one of
freedom,
those
Rick.
rallies
I did, yeah.
and you got your picture in the paper?
No, I took a picture so that I could proudly display that they can't they can't lock me up. They can't they can't jail. They can't what's the word for it? They can't shut me down. I'm too powerful for them.
Did
So
you
what
did you put
happened?
on a mask and shit? Did you have gloves? Did you do any of that
No,
shit?
no, no. As a matter of fact, none of us were socially distancing. Have to say, not a lot, not a lot. And there were some pretty hot coronavirus carrying chicks at this protest. Let me tell you, I can see why so many people protested in the 60s.
Okay, so
Uh,
let me give you a
and you've got
principle of
you've got an instant rapport, by the way, because you're both revolutionaries. Go ahead.
I would have a principle that like one principle is never start a relationship with somebody you meet in a bar because they're likely to be crazier or have a more fucked up life than you. And I would extend that principle to don't start a relationship with somebody you meet at a Free America from COVID rally. But
I let me tell you something. There were, if anybody in this, in our millions of listeners, is hearing this, gets a chance to go to a protest, it's the best looking women I've seen in a long time. Maybe it's because I've been locked up so much. Maybe they were average looking, and I just wasn't used to being with people. But I'll tell you, I have not shut down my business. I'm continuing to teach, and I was in a rally on the first with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. We
how many
sweated on
hundreds
each
and
other.
hundreds of people?
I estimate her at most 600, and that's because we couldn't advertise on any kind of social media because it would have been taken off by the fascists, the leftists. So it was all word of mouth, and on Saturday, as a matter of fact, we've got a little surprise, but that this coming Saturday, but I can't tell you what it is because that would be, they'd have to torture me. The police would have to torture me and beat it out of me. But
Is it
we got
balloons?
another
Is it a
surprise.
balloon bouquet? I like a nice surprise balloon bouquet.
Well, not for you, for
Oh,
the authorities, for the man. We got a
okay.
surprise coming, and so anyway, the point is that we were all over each other, and none of us got sick.
Well,
And
wait,
by
there's
the
an
way, and
incubation period. It's not like you
uh,
instantly turn
yeah,
into a fucking zombie.
I'll be here next week, Rick. And by the way, none of us knew anyone that had gotten sick. So
All
it
right,
was
so
like, so my point is this, Rick. It looks like all the Republican states are opening up, and all the Democratic states are now vying with North Korea for, are actually worse than North Korea at this point. North Korea with takeout and delivery is what California and the Democrat states are now putting people in jail for driving in their cars without masks on
yeah,
alone.
you like to say that, but I don't see a lot of that on fucking Twitter.
Sure, yeah, that's because you're not. Twitter is propaganda. There are governors of I think it's Maine or New Hampshire. There's a female governor. Virginia, definitely. Whitmer up in Michigan. The state assembly in Michigan has tried to overrule her, but she won't give up power because she's become so dictatorial. She
Like
won't let
85% of America is okay with like having some shutdown going on. And
No,
obviously,
I don't. No, that's not true. I don't believe that statistic for 1 minute. What is happening is, and by the way, the 500 or 600 people on LA City Hall, that's nothing because Huntington Beach had thousands. Okay, there were thousands at Huntington Beach. We were one of the smaller demonstrations. They're all over the city now. They're all over, and there are businesses just opening up like mine and just saying, fuck this shit. We're just opening up. Now, I will tell you one thing. Wait, I'm not done. I actually sent an email to some of my really old clients. I have a few clients that are over 70, and I said, look, I don't think you should come. They wanted to come, but I said, look, I'm not in quarantine anymore. I probably am a latent carrier, an asymptomatic carrier. So go ahead, go outside more, get vitamin D, start building up some contact with humans, and then you can come when you feel comfortable. You don't have to come for a month if you don't want to. And they can come when they want to, but I said, look, hold off a little bit because you are in the delicate age range.
all right.
So
So,
anyway,
are you wearing a
wrong.
mask when you teach?
Oh, why? No, Rick. I'm not wearing a mask when I teach. No one in the class is wearing a mask. We're all over each other. We don't give a flying fuck.
All right, as long as nobody gives a flying fuck, because we, I have some extra masks from the time that I was like pouring concrete and shit. Because if you want to be safe with your motherfuckers in that class,
No, we're fine. We're fine.
you're patriots.
Because here's the trouble, Rick. Your side has lost this argument. The Democrats, right now in California, Mayor Garcetti says he doesn't know. He said it might be June, July. He's not even sure. The Governor Newsom said that he's going to allow people to get married online for the next 2 months. He might keep us locked down until September.
Okay, so
I mean, your
now
side, your side is proven to be insane.
you know what happened.
Meanwhile, as of now, the Republican states are all opening up.
You know what happened in 1918, right? You
Yes,
had the
I
first
do.
wave. You had the first wave
Yeah. I
of
don't give a
Spanish.
shit.
No, no. Let me say, you had the first wave of Spanish flu, which began in March, April. And all right, nice. All right, fine. You had the first wave, and then summer comes, and it does back off some, and all the cities are like, yeah, we're opening up. And Philadelphia in it comes back, the second wave, September, October 1918. Philadelphia has a big parade for war bonds because it's the end of World War I, and fucking that kills thousands of people. It becomes October 1918, the second wave of the Spanish flu is the deadliest month of all of U.S. history, where 195,000 Americans died of the fucking flu. Last month in 2020, in April,
Rick,
58,000 Americans died of corona. So,
Rick, if you're worried about it, you can stay home. I'm going to get back to work, okay? Now, the other thing that
here's how you go back. Here's what should happen. And I don't think it'll happen until we get a new president. If at all, then, because we may not get a new president. Right now, the level of testing, we were testing at a fairly shitty level of 1/22nd of 1% of the U.S. Tested every day for 3 weeks. And recently, in the past week or so, it's gone up to about 1/16 of 1% of the U.S. getting tested every day. We just passed 2% of the U.S. getting tested on average every total. Just past 2% total of the U.S. getting tested. And as somebody pointed out to me when I posted this on Twitter, they said, "Yeah, but just because you got a test once doesn't mean you won't need to get tested again." And the deal is, though, the testing is the fucking key to opening up America in a non-disastrous way, unless we get really lucky. But the deal is that if we could do 1 million tests a day, or even better, 2 million, 5 million tests a day, so we actually knew, with pretty fast results, then people could fucking go back to their shit. You get tested, they find you're clear, you had it, but now you're clear, or you get tested and they find, a whole office gets tested because it's easy to get tested in some made up United States. If everybody in a 12-person office tested clear, those people could go back to work with reasonable safety precautions, and that's fucking fine. But we still don't have decent testing. Now, we have, in the last, 4 weeks, 30.4 million Americans have become unemployed. If we had the equipment and the supplies and the reagents and the giant fucking Q-tips to jam all the way to the back of your skull, if we had enough of that shit, we have enough unemployed people, we could have people getting tested left and right. And if 8 million people could get tested in a week, we could get fucking 10% of America tested in a month. And that's enough to, open up a lot of places, a lot of offices. So our testing needs to be better. We have the people power to do it.
Got it. Okay, we got it. We got your idea. Rick,
Yeah.
the world will never be safe enough for you. The fear of coronavirus has been jammed so deep into your consciousness, into your psyche, that you're now like a cornered animal, unable to comprehend any kind of logic. The world will never be safe enough for you. I'm telling you, this is what my Democrat friends have become. They're cornered animals right now. I want to tell you, not only now this is the funny thing. About 2 months ago, I suggested to Rick that there is this thing called hydroxychloroquine, and it has some promising results. I don't want to argue with Rick. I got to make a point. And because that's the Republican treatment, Rick's against it. But it turns out that now the Democrats that I talk to, because everything is political with Democrats, they've decided that they like remdesivir, which is another treatment. Now, my point is this: whether you take the Republican treatment, which is hydroxychloroquine or remdesivir, or you're a Democrat and you will only take remdesivir, it doesn't matter now. So long as there is a treatment, and so long as it's basically 10,000 to 1 that you're going to die from this, there is no reason to lock down the country. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have more information about the places that haven't locked down. It turns out that Sweden is still doing fine. Now, by now, according to all the numbers and threats and everything, Sweden should have had 500,000 deaths, but they're still hovering around 2,600. So the truth is that Sweden's herd immunity has developed without any lockdown.
No, fucking no.
No. And finally, there are states in the United States, believe it or not, there are small states, admittedly, but Montana and I think Wyoming or North Dakota don't have any deaths at all. They still have 0 deaths in 2 American states, and under 20 in some of the others. So the truth is, the real state that is the problem is New York. That's where half the deaths are. We
No,
found
under
out,
40%, under 40%, about 38%.
okay, 38%, Rick. Very good. Now, 38% of the deaths are in New York, where one, they're not using enough hydroxychloroquine or remdesivir. Two, they're not they're blending all their flu deaths into the same numbers. Three, it turns out that they were ventilating people that didn't need to be ventilating and killing them by ventilating them improperly. And four, and this is the main thing, they lost about 10,000, they lost at least 7,000 people because the governor threw COVID patients into the rest homes with the elderly. And that's undisputed. So the point is that we can go out and live our lives now, Rick, and you can too. You'll be okay. Get a little sun. Start cautiously. Meet people. You know, if you're worried about it, get yourself a supply of remdesivir. You'll be okay.
I went out yesterday. I chased some shitty teens down until I decided that no. I also had a zombie bar. We have this bar we put on the door that if somebody tries to kick in the door like a shitty teen, the bar is supposed to. So anyway, I was, so it's double good I didn't catch the teens because I might have beaten them with the bar. And then I definitely go to jail. But so I get out.
You'd be released because Governor Newsom is now releasing child molesters because he can't let people in jail be risking COVID.
Yeah, I know Fox News. I saw a story. They let a guy out. They let a guy out, and Fox News was horrified because they let a perv out, and at some fucking, halfway house, he showed people his dick.
Yeah, I don't know why this is, but Democrats love to release rapists who go on to rape again.
Well, what's interesting is you hire people to show their dicks.
I know you think this is funny, but the Democrats in New York and in California have a no bail policy now, where the bail is zero. So they're catching people that have committed violent crimes and just releasing them the same day. Because they're posting bail, which is zero. Another Democrat policy. And yes, Rick, finish your joke. I hire people to show my dick.
And I get hired to show people my dick.
All right.
Anyway.
You want to change subjects?
Yeah, what do we got? Well, oh no, I got one more thing. Because, I looked up now the deal is, remdesivir and hydroxychloroquine, they're all in that range of fucking. I saw a new study out of Turkey that says that everybody in Turkey is getting hydroxy.
That is correct.
And that they've got a fatality rate of 2.5% compared to we have a fatality rate in the U.S. roughly 6%.
I can look it up right now. Because the total deaths in Turkey are roughly 3,400. They have a death rate of 40 per million, which is far less than ours.
Yeah, which is 2.5% of people who get the shit die from it in Turkey. But
that's standards. No. Remember, it's not really 2.5%. It's 2.5% that present themselves.
Right. I know, but still, but it's the same.
The actual percentage.
This brings up a point that's important, which is every fucking country and even every municipality, every place, everybody has different standards for what gets reported. For instance, Belgium has a death rate, I think if you look it up, of 655 per million. Just some fucking.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah, I know.
All right, and it's because I looked it up, and it's because fucking Belgium throws everybody there are these memes that that you see on Twitter, one shows a guy plummeting to the ground. His parachute failed, and then the fucking examiner says, yeah, it's COVID. And
Right, yeah,
um,
okay,
Belgium really does do that. They take
okay,
everybody who's suspected of
yeah.
having it and they throw them into the died of COVID pot. So that's why their numbers are so high
They're
because they're
also
very
doing that. They're also doing that in New York.
so
I mean,
it's hard to tell what fucking works and what doesn't because every country and everybody has different standards for what counts as what. But it looks like hydroxy might be somewhat helpful. It doesn't save everybody, obviously. Same with remdesivir. Same with fucking everything.
yeah.
You want to get
So Rick,
treated with.
but my point is that since if we've got a treatment, why do we have to be locked up like children? This is insane.
We don't have to be, but the deal is that I mean, there's shit to do. Like, and we agree on this that um, if you have adequate, if you've got a spectrum, if you in your fucking bandolier that goes across your chest in the days of the Frito Bandito, we were allowed to have him as a food symbol. If you've got enough bullets in your um, fucking arsenal to fire at the fucking shit, um, you'll probably you'll probably have reduced mortality. Similarly, if you've another thing that would be nice to have would be like a lot more testing. Testing has only gone up over the past month.
Oh no,
An
okay.
average has
We
only
went over the
increased.
testing,
Hold on.
please.
Has only increased an average of 2% per day over the past month. It should be increasing much faster. We keep getting promised that shit. We haven't gotten it yet.
Rick, by the time there are enough tests to satisfy you, we'll have an economy like they had during the dark ages 1,000 years ago. Okay? We can't. We got to move back with our lives. We got to open our businesses up, go to restaurants, talk with each other, leave our houses. There will never be enough testing to satisfy you, Rick. We
No, well,
can't
there
test
should be more.
people.
No,
We can't
you're
test
fucking.
people every 12 hours, Rick.
You're right, but there should be more fucking testing. They keep saying more tests are
Okay,
coming, but
fine.
then we never.
So let's get. But in the meantime, let's get out and live our lives. Come on, Rick. You've got Governor Newsom has no plan to open California. Do you understand this? Garcetti just said he wasn't. He was thinking about maybe August. That's months from now. By then, there won't be a single human being in LA with a job. I mean, this is insanity, and it's because the Republicans are rational, practical people, and Democrats are nuts, and they love to push people around, just like they do whenever they take over a country.
But you know
Uh,
what? You've got people on one side, you got people on the other. We're going to reach some kind of equilibrium, and fucking nature is going to weigh in as we because they people like to characterize America as um, as an experiment in government where we have 50 different state governments. And the different state governments are going to try different things and different degrees of opening up. And we're going to present this to the virus. And the virus will tell us what it's okay with.
all right.
And then people have to decide with what they're okay with in terms of the virus. And it's going to be an ongoing experiment. We got fucking 50 labs across the country. And
Okay, got it.
and I got to admit that fucking I'm I don't my pension starts in 4 weeks. I start getting a pension check, so I don't have to go out because the checks are going to come to me. So you're right, like I don't have to earn a living. That's a legitimate fucking point. But we'll see. And I mean, and you're opening up, and places are opening up, regardless of what the local governments are saying, and we'll find out what fucking happens. We'll find
All
out if
right,
summer
let's
knocks it
change
out.
the subject. I've got
Okay,
something very. All right, let's
okay.
take a break.
All right, we're back. I want to talk about horse porn, pee porn, and duty porn. And The deal is, who's the guy with the Russian-sounding name out of New York who is giving hydroxy to people and claiming a huge success rate?
Oh,
Vladimir or something.
Doctor. Yeah. I don't remember his name.
All right, but
He's
anyway,
getting.
I looked him up, and he's right wingy. He's friends with that whole fucking super right wingy kind of. Uh, he's buddies like he's a scientist who's in league kind of with a bunch of conservative people. Now, I'm gonna I go a couple places, but I'll get where I'm going. We both know Adam Carolla and respect him as a very smart guy.
Yeah.
And as Adam has gotten older, he's become more libertarian. And he's good friends with Dennis Prager. And he made
Yeah.
enough that they made a movie together, right, about political correctness on
All true.
campus. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, but I think that Carolla is still pretty Catholic in the ideas that he'll entertain. Like
Okay.
you can like he's still friends with everybody in showbiz, and they'll go on his show and they'll say, a whole range of stuff from conservative shit to super liberal shit, and he'll be like, or whatever, but he'll still entertain all that stuff, right?
I don't know, but if you say so, I've kind of
I
lost
would
track
think
of
so.
it.
He's not afraid of ideas. He loves his ideas better than anybody else's ideas. I mean,
Well, I
mostly
mean, I
because
mean, Dennis Prager and Ann Coulter and Ben Shapiro, they'll have liberals on, but liberals usually cower in fear from those guys.
all right. Well, anyway, the deal is that like this very unkempt not COVID, hydroxychloroquine guy is like it was became beloved because he said that hydroxy cured everybody, and also he was like in league with like some really fringy right wing guys. And I will make this claim that if you're a super pretty model out in the world, male or female, but mostly female, you're not going to do porn at all. Supermodels don't do porn. They don't have to. They get paid a lot of money.
Much to our chagrin.
Yeah. And it's kind of a rule that the grosser the porn, the less attractive the models, right?
Well, you are the expert in this
All right.
subject.
Well, I will say this that the weirder the porn, the fewer the people who are willing to do it, and the more desperate, in the world of, people wanting to take your picture, the better looking you are, the more opportunities you have. So the people who are desperate enough to do the very grossest porn are a smaller subset of everybody who gets their picture taken, and a more desperate subset, so they're almost certainly going to not be as cute as, I don't know, Giselle Bundchen or
We got
Cindy
it.
Crawford's daughter.
I think we understood this about 20
Okay,
minutes ago.
all right,
Get to
fine.
your
So
point.
anyway, so I'm going to say that like the people who do like like this guy, this chloroquine guy who's in league with all these right wing, Alex Jonesy types, um, the science from that guy is going to be shittier than say the science of people who are only in league with science people. His being all fringy and shit, the science he's doing, I guess I would have to say, is the equivalent of horse porn.
All right. Well, Rick, they did a study recently, and they asked doctors what the most reliable treatment is for COVID medication. And the majority of them are now using hydroxychloroquine.
In America?
Yeah,
Okay,
in the world, Yeah, and it
okay.
and
So
and and it
you
has to
like
be used. it has to be used with zinc, with zinc, and with something called Z-Pack. So it doesn't, you don't, it doesn't. What it does is it needs the zinc to get into the cell to reduce the viral load. The hydroxychloroquine. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to try to explain it because I'm
All
not
right.
clear myself. But the point is, you have to use all three.
All right. So what I'm going to say is that may be so. Um, there's evidence that it's helpful in some instances. There's evidence that it's harmful in other instances, but that
No,
it's
no, 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 no. The person that dispenses the most hydroxy in the country is the head of the Lupus Society, a very important physician. The
yeah.
standard guy, he's dispensed millions of doses. He says it's as dangerous as Tylenol if it's used properly,
Properly.
used
So all right.
correctly. So if you're guzzling it, then yeah, something bad can happen. If you use it
But the
for
deal is
10
no. I'm
days,
saying that
if you use it for 10 days at the recommended dosage, it's as dangerous as Tylenol.
right. But the deal is there's a level of severity where the recommended dosage will help. But if you're already too sick for that, then the recommended dosage won't help, and then if you double that fucking dosage, then you might get in trouble with heart
No,
symptoms.
okay, here's the problem. Here's the problem. In all of these studies, every single study, they test it on people whose lungs are already torn to pieces.
Yeah,
And they find out that no, it can't repair somebody that's already had the damage done to their body. And so
yeah,
they end up dying.
yeah.
But it's not because the hydroxy didn't work. It's because the disease had progressed so far that nothing could have saved them.
All right, so 2 points. What would save those people is a lot more fucking testing, because with more testing, you catch more people earlier. Fucking, if there were like 100,000 fucking testing centers across America, which isn't unreasonable. I don't know. If there were as many testing centers in America as there are Starbucks or McDonald's, and you could go there, and each of those fucking testing centers could handle like 150 people, 200 people a day, fucking people at no charge, because we haven't gotten into it, but we know that minority people fare worse with the fucking COVID for a number of reasons, and one reason is because they tend to be poorer and more reluctant to go get medical shit done. But anyway, if you can go, it's like going to fucking Starbucks. People might be more willing to get tested earlier when whatever works, including hydroxy. That's point one. Testing would help that. Would help make hydroxy
Who
more
is
effective.
against testing? Rick, who are you arguing with? Is there anybody here that thinks
I
we
don't know.
shouldn't be
I don't know.
testing?
I'm just because what
Who
I'm
is it?
arguing is we need more fucking testing, and it
Okay,
should be
fine.
doable.
Rick, fine.
Okay. Okay.
Let us do
And
more
point
testing.
two is the whole thing. It makes sense about the zinc and the Z pack and the whole thing, plus the hydroxy. So there should be a study done, like one of those fancy studies, like a double blind. Like, and it shouldn't
They're
just
doing
be,
that.
it
It,
shouldn't be a fucking horse porn doctor whose word we're relying on.
yeah, Rick, I'm so glad that you make your decisions based on science and not weird, bigoted prejudices.
Yeah, okay, look up
The
that
the
guy and
the
like see
the
what his
guy
deal
that
is.
okay, all right, let's change subjects.
You've got a
So,
subject.
yeah, I have a subject now. I hope we haven't lost everyone, but I
No,
guess
because the
all
people
right,
come for the horse porn
all right. So here's the deal.
and for your guns. Look at
This
your fucking guns. Good
this
job.
this week, I bet I bet your media prevented you from hearing the latest releases from the IG report on the
Michael Flynn, are you
investigation.
talking Michael
Yeah,
Flynn?
yeah. What did you hear anything about that?
I did, but
All right,
like
all right.
no,
Let me
hold
let
on,
me
hold
just
on.
say
Before
what
you
it.
blame my media,
Uh,
You should don't blame my media. Blame my previous brainwashing. Like my because it's really not the media's fault entirely with what I think, because I already had preconceptions of Michael Flynn. I thought two things: he's a liar, he's not a good guy, and I'm bored with it, and I don't want to read the details. So is it really the media's fault right now when I've already been conditioned not to you know?
yeah, okay. Let me explain to our viewers what happened this week. This week,
Oh no, I do know all of this. I know all this. A bunch of notes were released that the FBI has to keep strict. Let me tell me if I'm wrong, because you asked me. The FBI has to keep strict, very comprehensive records of their conversation. They have to keep notes on what they were going to do, what they did in interrogations. They have to keep a very comprehensive record of everything. And some FBI sets of notes were released where the agents were saying, so what's our plan here? Are we going to get him? We know what he did. Are we going to ask him what he did and then nail him if he lies about it? We're not going to tell him we know. And the answer that one guy writes that, and the other FBI writes back, he's like, yeah, let's do that. Let's not tell him what we know. Let's ask him, and then we're going to catch him lying to us, which is against the law. Is that pretty much it?
I don't remember all the exact quotes, but it was words to the effect of, "Are we going to try and catch him in a perjury trap? Catch him lying? Are we going to, or are we going to?" I should have read this, but basically, they were trying to trap him, and they are we. I could read the exact quotes to you, but the
I think
whole
we're on the
thing.
same page. We're on the
All
same
right,
page.
but the whole thing turns out to be completely illegal. And people will almost certainly go to jail for what they did.
Well,
And
no,
believe
like,
wait,
okay,
I'm
so
not
that's
done.
where we're not on
Okay,
the same page.
Rick. It's not normal. Okay, they were trying to catch him in the Logan for violating the Logan Act. All right. So don't interrupt me. You're not letting me talk. It turns out that John Adams uh, found that somebody had tried to negotiate and say they were negotiating for the U.S. This was in the early years of the 19th century, or late years of the 18th. Our second president. And so they passed this thing called the Logan Act, that you're not allowed to negotiate on behalf of the U.S. unless you're an authorized agent of the U.S. And no one has ever been prosecuted for this successfully. What happened was Michael Flynn was already receiving a paycheck. It was roughly it was within a week or two of getting of Trump taking office. He spoke to the Russian ambassador, and so the FBI said, well, since Flynn wasn't actually in office, and he violated the Logan Act. He spoke on behalf of Trump, so they decided that based on a law that is completely inapplicable, they were going to try and catch him from a lie because the FBI was illegally tapping his phone call. So the FBI was tapping his phone call, and what they did was they had a complete transcript of every word he said. And they said, okay, what we're going to do is this. This is all written down. I mean, this is all documented. What we're going to do is we're going to say that he's violated the Logan Act because he's negotiating on behalf of the U.S. within weeks of Trump taking office. He'd already won the election. And then, which is insane, and then what we're going to do is we're going to ask him a series of questions. And about a phone call that he made a month previous. And if he gets anything wrong, anything, a date, any kind of misquotation, we're going to catch him for perjury. This is all in the notes.
Yeah, no,
And,
okay.
and wait, and there's more. It also turns out that after they went after him for this, which is all completely illegal, you're not allowed to. They also decided in these notes that they were not going to read him his rights, because if they read him his rights, he would know that this was a hostile interview. And what they were trying to do is trick him. They wanted him to think that they were just going over things with him as a colleague. And since they were the FBI, he was the head of national security, they just wanted him to think this was no big deal. This was business as usual, when in fact they were trying to trap him. So they discussed how to do this without reading him his rights. That's the second thing they did. The third thing, it comes out that they finally got him to plead guilty after what they did was they pulled the full weight of the United States against him, broke him financially, so he had no more money. Then they got him so he had to actually sell his house to afford the legal fees. And then finally, they knew he was completely broke. This is in the notes too. They went to him and they said, okay, we're going to go after your son now. We've got something on your son. If you don't plead guilty, your son's going to go through what we just put you through. So finally, he pled guilty. Now, this is going to result, 2 or 3 years ago, when we first had this conversation, I told you that Flynn was innocent and that it'd be thrown out of court. While you and every other Democrat jackal were salivating at how dishonest Trump was and how all the people that surround Trump are going to jail, like Flynn and this other guy, the Papadopoulos. And it turns out all of their cases are being overturned because
Did Papadopoulos' shit get overturned? I thought he went to jail for like 10 days or something.
But it's going to turn out that it'll probably be reversed, because now it turns out that he was entrapped the same way they entrapped, a different way. It turns out that the CIA was framing him. So his thing is going to be, he's going to be exonerated.